West Tigers fans, a very special episode tonight. We have got the People's Champion. I think safe to say the most favourite journalist in all the land for West Tigers fans, Michael Chammas, coming up on an episode of West Tigers Life. West Tigers fans, welcome into another episode of the West Tigers Life podcast, coming in from the Orange Grove Hotel this evening. Plenty of West Tigers fans, a few of our regulars here, enjoying a meal, enjoying a beer. So thank you to everyone who's joining us here and everyone on the stream as well. Please give us a follow at West Tigers Life on the TikTok's almost up to 1,000. TikTok's great, gone gangbusters. X, Instagram. Give us a like on Facebook. YouTube is in the just about at 1,900-ish. So going gangbusters this year. But with our special guest, we'll get straight to him. I think after having the People's Champ on tonight, when those numbers might skyrocket for us. Michael Chammas, thank you for your second appearance on the West Tigers Life. It's been too long. Yeah, thanks for having me, boys. I don't know if the Tigers fans think I'm the People's Champ, but that's okay. We'll ride the wave for a little bit. It's good to be back on. Well, I think Danny Widler proclaimed you that on Triple M, and we'll run with it. We totally agree with it. How has it's been we've been exhausted kind of covering what's happened in the news. We don't have to get it, but how are you how has everything been for you in terms of busyness and workload and that sort of thing in the past couple of weeks? Has it been business as usual, or has it been a little bit more intense than usual for you? Probably about 4 or 5 weeks ago, we had the Cherry Evans situation on the back of the Galvin situation, and that was pretty crazy at that time. It sort of settled down a little bit over the last few weeks. So we all expected the outcome that it's reached with Lockie moving on. Now attention will turn to how he performs and how he plays. But I guess from Tigers' point of view, the fans are probably glad this is done and dusted now. You can move on. I'm sure that they're not just delighted with the outcome. And I said today on the podcast with Danny Widler that Tigers didn't deserve for this outcome to play out the way it did. In the end, they're getting punished for potentially doing too good of a deal a couple of years ago with Lockie. But look, you know what? It's part of the rugby league news cycle. I know when you're in the middle of it, and Tigers fans have just been copying hook after hook after hook for years, and it feels like it's never ending. But it's what makes the game so enjoyable to cover, but also constantly in the headlines because it's never short of any drama. Totally forgot to introduce my co-host, Aaron Thompson, the stats man. How are you this evening?
Yeah, g'day, Josh. G'day, Rob. The simplest way I can put it is I'm here. I had a bit of a hectic day yesterday that I don't think I'm fully mentally and physically recovered from, but show must go on, and looking forward to dissecting what happened on the weekend, as well as our chat with Chammy, and looking ahead to another game this weekend.
Another man who's been working hard. I don't know if you saw it, Michael, but the video of Lachlan Galvin, his first training session in Bulldogs colours was actually broken. He almost broke the internet with his video posting of him training. Mr. Bashara this evening. You might get him a job over at. Was that his video? It was his video. Yeah. Rob was the first person to post that. Mate, what are you doing posting it? You should have sold it. You would have made some money. Well, Michael, I messaged him straight away. I said, at least watermark it with our logo, like put our logo on it or something, because people flog. I saw a Bulldogs fan page. They watermarked it themselves and took it and ran with it as if it was theirs as well. He's he's good at what he does, Mr. Bashara. He's our people's champ. Yeah, he needs to be a bit more ruthless with the marketing side of things. How are you, Mr. Bashara, anyway?
Yeah, I'm well, mate. I'm well. Look, that video came to me from someone else. There is no way when I put it on Twitter that I thought I was the first one putting it. And I did tag you, by the way, and you never got back to me straight away. So yeah. I've got no blame for the watermarking.
Tagged me. I didn't see that.
Mate, if I knew I had the first one, I would have rung you first.
Yeah, well done. Well done.
Right, Rob, you've got some questions for Michael. Where do you want to start?
Okay, you want to change the batting order?
No, you go. I've talked plenty.
All right. Well, firstly, Michael, again, thanks for coming on. People don't know this, but you are so accessible. Every time I've reached out to you, whether it was with West Tigers Unite, Holman Barnes Group, all that stuff, you get back to me straight away. Even tonight, I didn't expect you to do it, but we really appreciate you doing it, mate. So thanks again. Mate, we just want to start with your thoughts on the West Tigers season so far.
Yeah, look, I was looking at the ladder before I jumped on. I don't think it's been a 5-7 start to the year. You at least deserve to be 6-6. I think there's been, especially in the first couple of months of the year, the first 6 to 8 weeks, there's some performances there that deserve more than you got. And if you were 6-6 with one extra win, you'd be sitting in 7th position right now. So it probably doesn't reflect the improvement where you sit on the ladder right now. But then again, it has dipped away pretty quickly in the last few weeks, which is a cause for concern. But look, I actually love watching the Tigers play. I know there's a lot of people think that we'd love to see them fail, and I enjoy when the Tigers do well. I actually watch more West Tigers games than anything else because it's so exciting to see, and you want them to do well. Now, sometimes in the background, the narrative, the storylines are so much bigger when you guys are losing, but that doesn't mean you sit there hoping for that to happen. And a lot of guys at the club that I get along with really well, and players, staff, and I want to see them do well. And I think this year there's been improvement. I'm just worried about the last few weeks and think, okay, are there some bad habits starting to creep in? And even when you were losing games at the start of the year, the performances were a lot more convincing. So hopefully it's just a little blip in the road, and they can get it back on track this week against the Panthers.
Mate, which players have impressed you so far this year from the West Tigers?
Yeah, look, I think a lot of the young guys, like I know that Terrell May is an obvious one. Like, what a signing that's been for you guys. He's been outstanding. Disappointing for him to miss out on Origin. I think Jerome, from a leadership point of view, I think you asked Jerome, his form itself is probably not at the standard that he wants, but what he's been able to bring to the team on and off the field, some guidance and direction. So I think Jerome's been a good signing. But I'm a massive Samuel Finer fan. I think he's got a huge future. I know there's been some injuries and whatnot, but I think he's got a huge future. Jareem Buller's been great. And I know we haven't seen a lot of Tain Silva, but I hope he doesn't leave the Tigers as well, because I think he's got a 15-year career in him. Tain Silva, good player. Manager's probably going to ask for a lot of money, but I think there's a lot of things to be happy with as a West Tigers fan, but also, as you guys will probably have seen, some cause for concern as well.
In terms of players signed, I don't know if you saw, but we have Coach Adele. He's our go-to guy on Sunday, who kind of breaks down the game for us from a technical point of view. But he broke the news that, or we think he was the first person to say it.
Stafford Toa.
Yeah, Stafford Toa had re-signed with West Tigers, so hopefully that can be announced. Toa went on his socials and said only rumours, but fingers crossed. Adele. Oh, look, Adele's info has been pretty good for us. He's never let us down, so we expect that to come to a fruition.
When I wrote that Jerome Luai was coming to the Tigers, he also denied that as well. So maybe that's a sign that potentially it's on its way.
Any others that we can? Any other rumblings in terms, because Richo did say the West Tigers fans are starting to get okay, Galvin's gone. We're dying for some good news. There was KPP talk and that sort of thing. Is there anything in the works that we can look forward to as West Tigers fans?
Yeah, I think that's the one that's on the cards. Kai Pearce-Paul spoke to the manager in the club a little while ago about it. From what I last heard, they were just finalising the details around it and what that looked like. There was a little bit of a gap between the money of what the two parties were expecting, but he will be most likely joining the club on a 3-year deal from what I can remember. So that's going to be something that'll boost the club. I know they were definitely looking at finding a back row to help them. There were some conversations internally about David Fafita and whether they should go there, but Kai Pearce-Paul's definitely looking likely at this stage. I'm surprised it hasn't been done and finalised just yet. Although the big question is then what do you do in the 6? Young Latu there. Do you look for some experience? You've got it with Jerome Luai, but do you look to add to that? I think Latu is an exceptional young talent. I think Jerome feels the same about it. I'd like to see him given a chance to prove himself before they hit the market and bring someone else in. Now, if you look at what's available out there, it's not a huge amount in terms of halves for next year. So I think you give the kid a chance, and then if it doesn't go well for you this year, then you look at someone who's off contract at the end of 2026 and you try and bring them. There's a few names that are off contract. You don't know if you'll get them. Metcalf, Jaden Campbell. There'll be some guys who would partner Jerome Luai really, really well if they had some money to spend. But I think you got to back the kid. I think you got to back Latu and hope he comes good because he's on a lot of money and he's got huge raps on him. So if I was the Tigers, I'd be going all in on Latu for now.
Shammy, with Tain Silva, is it a case of Appy plays on and he leaves? Is it as simple as that?
The message. That's the message from the management to the club. It's a hard one. I don't know, boys, how you guys feel about it. Appy's been very, very good for the club, and he's got a very close relationship with Benji, very close relationship with Jerome, and the feeling that they are the most influential, most powerful voices at the club. There's no doubt about that. Does it look like that his time is up? No, it doesn't. It looks like he's got a few years still in him, but if you're going to lose Tain Silva, it's going to be a tough one for the Tigers because, as I said, I think he's got an exceptional future. The manager's talking about 600,000 plus for Tain Silva. There's no way the Tigers could afford to pay Tain that much money and keep Appy Coruscant. It just won't work to have two guys so highly playing the one position. So, big decision for the club to make. We know Talen's really, really close to Lockie. I wonder how much what's happened over the last 2 months will impact on his decision. And that was my fear at the time when I said that the other players and the club turning on Lockie in that way, and the way it planned out, was that going to have a negative impact on Tain and how he viewed the joint? Now, he's not going to say anything publicly, and I'm sure he's happy there, but seeing one of your best mates sort of feel the way he did, I wonder just the impact that had on his mental state as well in terms of him wanting to be there long term. So let's see how this one plays out, but I think money's going to be a big factor, and if his manager's talking 600 plus, then I can't see him being at the Tigers.
I'll throw to Aaron to ask a couple of questions. I just want to say, Michael, that all these questions are from the people that listen to us and put their questions on Twitter and our private Discord page. So thank you to all those people that did that. We really appreciate that.
Patreon.com/WestsLife.
All right, Michael. What are your thoughts on whether the club thinks Benji is on track in his coaching development, and should they get better help around him?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I think that Benji's personality is that he doesn't trust very easily, and the people he wants around him are the people he trusts. And so, sometimes that may be a shortcoming of his as a coach. I feel like that perhaps there are more qualified candidates out there, and he probably chooses, you guys know, he chooses guys that he's worked with in the past, he's played with in the past. And that is the criticism of Benji externally, is that does he have the people there who are going to challenge him? And I think that the Lachlan Galvin situation, I think that while I do agree with this sentiment that he was going to say and do whatever it took to get out of the club, I do believe that deep down there is a feeling, having spoken to, he speaks to Luke Vella at the Bulldogs, or he speaks to the guy at Manly that he's close to, and the fact that they're speaking to him regularly about how he should be coached, and he's hearing things from other people about how other clubs do it. While the Tigers took that as a shot at them, perhaps there is a way to improve. And I think Benji, from the people I've spoken to, has got some really good attributes about him as a coach. And there's some things that he does really well, but there's also some things that he can improve on. I think the way he handled certain things in the past, the David Clemmer situation. There are things with Benji that he will learn on the run, and he needs to be given the time to do that. Is he the finished product? Not yet, no. But results are going to play a big part in how long and how much time they give to Benji Marshall. But there's no talk at the moment that he's under any pressure whatsoever. So he just needs to find the right balance in his halves and get them playing the way they were at the start of the season, because that had Tigers fans optimistic about the future.
Shammy, hopefully this doesn't happen. But if the wheels fall off for the West Tigers this year and we end up in the bottom three, is there a possibility that Benji might be let go, in your opinion?
Oh, look, I'm not hearing that, but the reality is if you're not performing, and they had a lean year last year, and to be fair, he was part of every decision when Tim Sheens was there in terms of recruitment and retention. So naturally, if you're down the bottom of the ladder, there's going to be the questions around it. But I don't know what purpose it'll serve, because unless the club does want to get rid of some of the players, because if Benji's to be moved on, you can guarantee that Jouro Luai's hitting the open market, isn't he? Does Appy move on? Like, it's going to have a huge impact, because Benji has such a close relationship with some of those guys. While it may have been negative in the Lachlan Galvin situation, it's going to be important to keeping some of those senior guys there. Terrell May, Sania Taruva. There's that clique of players who have really developed a strong relationship with Benji. Maybe that's too close. I don't know. Like, I'm not in the four walls to know if there is such a thing as Benji being too close to the players. But I don't think that Benji will be terminated at the end of the year regardless. But if they do struggle the back end of the year, I wouldn't be surprised if he starts slow next year. Then that's when the pressure falls on him.
I found it quite, I wouldn't say funny, but coincidental that you were talking on the Triple M potty with Danny today about Michael Maguire and how he's kind of in the hot seat at the moment. And you're talking about how back in the day you were kind of the Madge, you wrote an article about Madge, and that's the whole reason you actually came on the show in the first place, was to talk about Madge, your article about Madge being under fire, which we'll put our hands up and say we were wrong. We were wrong on that one. You were right in hindsight. Maybe the Broncos. We'll see what happens with the Broncos, but enough about them. We don't really care about them. That's their problem. Now, in terms of Shane Richardson,
just on that, the Madge situation. Like, it's funny how, like, at the time, a lot of people, Tigers fans included, think you're just making things up, and you have to be careful of what you write, and you're protecting the people that come to you. But now enough time has passed that I guess you can probably look back and think there were people within those four walls who were really, really frustrated with how things were going under Madge. And when that happens, people start talking to the media, and so a lot of the stuff that was coming out, while people were thinking that's bullshit, that's just media stirring trouble. You'd be surprised that, the level of frustration that can build when you're losing, and how quickly people are to try and point the finger and to try and generate change within that club. And, there were people, administration, board level, players who felt that. And it's not the case at the moment with Benji. So hopefully it doesn't happen. But, when it turns pretty quickly.
Well, that kind of segues my next question. I don't know if you saw, but our relationship with the previous management got quite quite sour, to say the least. How have you felt with Shane Richardson's been in the helm? What's he been in there? 18 months?
18 months.
Now? Yeah, 18 months roughly. Now, look, first question, did you ever get any of the grappa dinners with previous management? And how are you finding the new management?
Look, you guys know that I had a close relationship, but I always called a spade, and I was critical of the Tigers that's why a lot of the Tigers fans dislike me, is because I wrote so many negative stories about the club. But even though I had a close relationship with them, I was doing my job. I said all along, I thought Lee, my personal opinion was Lee was hard done by for what he'd sacrificed and given to that club. And I thought it was time for Justin to move on. And while I'm a friend of Justin's and close to Justin, I think that he had enough time there, and it was best for both parties to move on. I said that on the footy show. So, look, I think Richo has got a wealth of experience. He came in like a bull at a gate. I think that sometimes that gets in the way of the right decisions for the club. I was very critical of the way he handled the Lachlan Galvin situation, because you guys know that I'm not Team Isaac, but in the end, I was just like, Richo has given Isaac exactly what he wanted with the emotional reaction to what happened with Lachlan Galvin, which surprised me because he's such an experienced administrator to play right into the hands and to open themselves, leave them liable to a lawsuit, a bullying claim, which we know what it was. It was a claim just to get him out of the club, but it was all from the start of the tone of that press release, which was put out soon after Danny and I broke the story that Lockie wasn't staying. That was what triggered the emotional reaction from the players. That's what triggered the chain of events that led to Lockie eventually being allowed to leave. And to be honest, for 175,000, like if you talk about Carl Oluwapu, got 500,000 from the transfer fee. The Broncos got $500,000 from the Bulldogs for Carl Oluwapu, who'd never played a game. And we're talking about a wonder kid here, and they've settled for 175. So clearly, the legal case, whether it be real or not, whether they would have followed through or not, clearly they had a case. Otherwise, the Tigers wouldn't have sacrificed so much and been willing to give up. I think they were asking for 7 figures to start with. So for the fact they got 165 or 175 says how worried they were about it becoming a reality. But I think there's some things in Richo's administration which the club needs. They need someone to just go in there and make tough decisions. And I don't agree with some of the things, but he's been there to do a job, and he's been allowed to do that job by the board. Whether he makes the right decision all the time, sometimes I don't feel that happens. But I don't doubt his appointment or the need for someone in there to just make those tough decisions, whether they be right or wrong. And at some point, you look back and wonder if you look back and you'll be able to tell if that was the right or wrong call.
Shammy, I think Richo's got most things right since he's been appointed CEO. As a supporter, the rumblings were, when are we going to re-sign Galvin? When's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? If he didn't put out that statement, surely those rumblings would have got louder. Given the benefit of hindsight, what do you think he could have done?
Yeah, every indication, Rob, was that Lockie was in no rush, didn't want to sign. Like we were talking for weeks. We'd heard it in the off-season. I was speaking to people about Lockie being a little bit off with Jerome, despite what you heard on 100% Footy and in the Telegraph. Like there was, it's not that they weren't getting along, but there was just some frustrations building there, and people in the media were starting to hear it. There was rumblings that he wanted to leave. I don't think the Tigers needed to do what they had to. They didn't need to bring it to a head. I just don't understand. He wasn't off contract until the end of 2026. I know they're talking about making plans for the future, but who else is signing players that far in advance and not being able? It's not like he's on $1 million, and if he was going to walk out, you had $1 million to spend. I just think in the halves, they were so well situated. They had Latu there on decent money. It wasn't going to cost them a lot, but he was on decent money. Galvin was on 250, then 350 next year. What was the rush? He was leaving, Rob. He was leaving. And the only way that was going to change is if you provided him with an environment where he fell in love with, and they went on a run and made finals football. That was the only thing that was going to convince him to stay. And we were all hearing that. So I felt it was a little bit naive for Richo then to go to Galvin, try and get a meeting with his manager, say, here, mate, we want this deal, when it was always going to be thrown back in his face. And I think that perhaps, and obviously hindsight's a wonderful thing. Richards might be sitting there thinking, I'm glad we've cut the cord now. We've got a decision. We can move on and plan for the future. But I don't think any Tigers fan at the start of the year, if you gave them the option of Lachlan Galvin leaving the club mid-season, no one would have taken that. And it's a real shame it's ended up this way. But that's been brought upon by Lockie, his manager, and I feel like that the Tigers did contribute to allowing him to get what he wanted.
Yeah, personally, I think it's totally derailed our season.
Yeah, well, what were you when it all went down? You were 3-2 or 3-3? I can't remember exactly.
We had just beaten Newcastle, so we were 3-3.
3-3, and you could have easily been 4 or 5 out of those 6 games because you lost some narrow games. You should have beaten Newcastle round 1. I think it was the Warriors as well. You could have beaten
Warriors in round 4. Yeah,
there were some games there where you felt like this team should be sitting in the top 4, not 3-3. So it has derailed your season, and I just feel. I said at the time, I just didn't think the timing was right because the noise was always suggesting that Lockie was going to leave.
In terms of the covering West Tigers themselves, look, Danny said that we can be quite a feisty fan base, but at the same time, we're of the belief that we don't want to kind of big note our club too much, but we are a very popular team despite how much heartbreak they have given us. Is there something, when you do get something about the Tigers, does it, like, surely compared to your, I don't know, your Manleys or your Cronullers or some of the smaller, more niche, I'll call them like a niche sort of team compared to ours, does it kind of get a little bit more? Because at the end of the day, as a journo, it's you want the big stories that get the most I don't know, sell the most papers or the most page impressions or the most views, or depending what outlet you're on at the moment. Do the Tigers stories, do they make you nervous or do they make you excited? Like what happens when you come across a Tigers story?
Yeah, I get this a lot. Tigers fans sort of saying, "Oh, it's just that Tigers rate. They're just trying to stir trouble," and we get it a lot. But you got to realize that the reason that they rate so well and the reason that there's so many stories is because it's been 10, 12 years of disappointment, which means the Tigers fans, and I understand, are so bitterly disappointed. But with failure comes the negative side of things, comes all the drama, and it happens at every club. Like if you look at what the Bulldogs went through or what Parramatta went through, they were big stories when they go through those periods when they're in the doldrums. Now, for you guys, it's been so long, which is why I understand. Like, I don't take anything really, they don't take anything personally. I understand Tigers fans are frustrated and it might seem like we're picking on them, but that's, mate, at the end of the day, I'm doing what I'm doing because I'm a rugby league fan. I grew up wanting to, I get how it feels. Maybe I'm not the Dragons tragic I once was, but I understand how you guys feel because I felt it once upon a time. So that's why I jump on and do this thing. So at the end of the day, I'm only here because I'm a fan who went to uni and studied journalism and got a chance to do what I do, and I love what I do. So do I think that we deliberately go out searching for Tigers stories? No, because to be honest with you, they come to us, and that's what happens when you fail. Like as I said to you earlier, the people who are frustrated at the club, they pile up. The people who are disappointed with the way things are going, they start talking, and everyone thinks this is the misconception. Everyone thinks there are leaks, that someone is sitting there deliberately going to the media and saying, "I've got this story for you. You wouldn't believe what happened." The amount of times that happens, I count on one hand. Like is not the way things happen. But at a football club, people talk. And not only do they talk internally, they talk to people outside the club, and those people talk. And a lot of these things, and I remember with the old board, there was a lot of criticism of leaks from the board. A lot of those guys are all gone now, but they were just guys who, like you guys there, who were fans in positions of power, who were excited about what's going on at their club and talking to people, and they couldn't help themselves. It wasn't a deliberate attack to undermine the club or sabotage the club. But sometimes your greatest source of information are from people who don't even know that they're providing that information. They don't even know that the original information that they've passed on has eventually made its way to the media. So yeah, look, it's excuse me. It's a funny one because we're a subscription, like the Sydney Morning Herald. It relies on subscribers, and everyone says, "Oh, it's clickbait. It's clickbait." Well, it's not clickbait. But if you are a business who requires people to pay for your product, and people aren't paying for a certain product, don't you provide to what they read? And if the numbers are telling you Tigers fans want to read about their club, or Bulldogs fans want to read about their club, well then you'd be silly not to cover those clubs. Now, do you deliberately go chasing it? No. And I feel like we provide our readers with what they want, and that's a lot of the time it's negative stories. And your club has been unfortunately at the bottom of the ladder for a long time, and those negative stories are part and parcel of it. You watch when the tide turns one day, and it will. There won't be many stories written about the Tigers because that doesn't sell. Like, you guys are fans, you talk about it, and your fans will listen to that sort of stuff. But in terms of the stuff that happened with Lachlan Galvin, that's just gone through the roof. You don't get that every day of the week. The stuff that happens.
Can you tell us when that tide's going to turn, please?
Yeah. I'll let you know. 2000 and
I've been waiting for 14 years.
But we'd be hypocritical to disagree with that, because some of our biggest episodes have been, we used to do things called rant pods. So after something getting flogged by 60 or something dramatic happened, we'd have people come on and give a rant. This whole show started because I started doing this show by myself, and this guy to my right came on and did the rant of the century, and we went viral. That was probably the day one of your tiff with the current management, but everyone loved it, and this show kind of snowballed into what it is now. Just based on, we call it the West Tigers therapy, these episodes. So I mean, the Cowboys, when we went live after the Cowboys
infamous win after full time
soft whistle incident, that was our most live. Like, we had more viewers live on that episode. So on the back of, when I say tragedy is real life stuff. It's
People
just
love drama.
footy, yeah. So our biggest episodes have come after something bad. Week in, week out, our wins do. We do get more people listen after wins, but when something significant, this whole drama with Lockie as well, like the episodes that we've talked about, and people are telling us they're sick of hearing about it. But yeah, our numbers, as soon as we start giving our thoughts on it, our TikTok numbers the clips go up, everything goes up when we're talking about.
So what you're saying is that you guys are clickbait now. Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, well, the TikTok a little bit. Yeah, trying to. My background's journalism as well, Chammas. So I'm kind of.
Oh, is it? There you go.
Yeah. So.
Well, I just want to go further on what Josh said. Shammy, you deal with all the 17 teams. Where do we sit in terms of our resources and staffing? Like, if you had to put a number on us, are we down the bottom? Are we in the middle? Up the top?
Yeah, good question. I'm not too sure, to be honest with you. I haven't sort of looked into it forensically in terms of what you guys have. I know back in the day you would have been down the bottom. There's been a lot of money poured into the club. The facility is the best in the competition. I don't think you are under-resourced. I don't think that's the case at all. And the club's been given the keys to have some success. It's hard to change. It's hard to sort of change. I think that they don't have any excuses, Rob, in terms of not having the resources around them. I don't think that would be fair. Are they at the top? Are they at the bottom? I'm not too sure, but I think everything that Benji needs to have success is around him. Obviously, as you said, it's derailed so far, been derailed by the Lachlan Galvin situation. But what do you do? Like, everyone's views on it is going to be different. Like, imagine if it was Lee and Justin still in charge and this went down. Like, you guys would be apoplectic right now about how the way it was handled. Like, everything's subjective. People are passionate. It's going to get heated, and people are going to be disappointed. Normally, people get something to look forward to. Unfortunately, Tigers fans, they haven't had a lot of it. That's why it grows and grows and grows.
Yeah, fair enough. You got a question, Aaron?
Yeah, I do. So one of the most commonly talked about things in rugby league is the salary cap and all the dramas that are associated with that. Do you think the salary cap system needs an overhaul, given the third-party deals that seem to nullify what the cap is there to do?
Yeah, good question. Like, I really enjoy looking into the salary cap side of things, and I spoke today about. I think this part of the salary cap really irks me, and it impacts on you guys. I think this year is the ability for players to earn more money by walking out on clubs. I think that's a real flaw in the system. I think that what just played out in the last 6-8 weeks with Lockie would have been avoided if the NRL system didn't allow for it. Like, it actually encourages players and managers and Isaac to do what they just did, which is bully clubs into a position where things become untenable just to get out. But if it didn't, so for example, Lachlan Galvin, as I said to you, is on 250 this year, 350 next year. In my belief, the salary cap rule should prohibit him from earning any more than that at any other club during that tenure. So if he was to leave to the Bulldogs, as he has, he shouldn't be allowed to earn more than 250 this year, but he's probably got a bonus. He's probably got an upgrade from him. He shouldn't be allowed to earn more than 350 next year, but he's probably doubled that salary. If they were prohibited from doing so, I wonder what would have happened. Would Ryan Madison have left with the way he did? Would Adam, I don't know, like Adam Fanua-Blake probably is a bad example because I don't know if he got the same money, but there are players who have agitated to leave their clubs because they know they're not on a lot of money. They can get more. The only club that should be able to give them more money is the current club, and that would have been the Tigers in this situation in the form of an upgrade. If he didn't want to take it, that's his choice, but he wouldn't have got any more than that over the period of his contract. That's where the NRL lets themselves down. I think lets the clubs down.
Mate, given we've been down the bottom of the ladder 3 years in a row at least, no finals for 14 years, do you ever think the draft system will come back on the table?
No, I don't think so.
I
don't think so. Yeah, I just the way rugby league is, I just don't think it will. It's not even in the conversations at the moment. The trade window is probably in the conversation. The RLP are reluctant to sort of get into that, but I don't know. I agree with you that I would love to see some sort of allowance, because once you sort of fall out of the A, it's really hard to get back up, and it's proving difficult for clubs. It's not good for the game to have the Tigers missing the 8 for that many years. It wasn't good to have the Dogs missing for 8 or 9 years. That the game doesn't need that. But the only problem is if you incentivize finishing lower on the ladder, we get there's nothing worse than watching NBA teams tank at the back end of the year to get better draft picks. And I just worry for our game if that's the case. I don't know how we fix it, but there's got to be some sort of help given to those clubs get out of the bottom, because the cycle just continues on. You're at the bottom, you're regarded as a shit club, which means therefore you have to pay overs to get players, and you pay overs to get them. If it doesn't work because they haven't got the cattle around them, that means you're even in a darker hole, and you've been through that cycle over and over again. So sometimes you get lucky, like the Bulldogs made some really smart choices, paid unders for guys who you think are worth more now, and everyone's saying, oh, the Bulldogs, how are they under the cap? Well, what they did was we laughed at the Bulldogs 2 years ago with those signings. Everyone said they've got a bunch of utilities, and now we're saying that they're over the cap. So you need to get lucky. And Cameron Ciraldo, maybe you would have got lucky in a different life if Cameron had said yes in that meeting with Justin and Tim, and when he met with you guys, maybe you're in a different path at the moment.
Michael mentioned the NBA, so I'm going to run off the back of that.
Oh,
But I'm not going to ask him. So I know you love American sports as well. And by the way, you're Hawaiian rugby league.
I'll get on board.
I 100%. If they need a PR or marketing person, I'll put my hand up for it. 100%. But in terms of American sport, firstly, quick question. I am of the belief that I won't get into jersey numbers. We'll leave that for another conversation. But
that's a good question, though.
Yeah,
ask him.
Okay. I'll phrase it this way then. In terms of what American sports do, in terms of media and the sport itself, because it's very, very different. Obviously, a much, much bigger market than, the NRL is basically like their high school sports, like in terms of scale of numbers and that sort of thing. But I think player salaries, and RLPA is just going to be the reason why this would never happen. I love how American sports, you see every single dollar that players are paid. So all these years of we bag out the Roosters for the salary sombrero and blah, blah, blah. It would be great to just see the rosters and how they've built their salary cap and that sort of thing, just the same as we can see how much Nikola Jokic is on or LeBron's on and that sort of thing, literally down to the dollar. Yeah,
I would love to see it too, because reality is while some people always say we're making it up, it's pretty accurate. It's pretty close to the mark what we know the players are on anyway. Like people talk, it's not a secret. It's not like sometimes you got a player on $1 million and we're saying that he's on 450. Like you're within 50 to 70 grand of what the players are on. So I would love to see it made public. I agree with you. The RLPA would never allow it. The RLPA won't even allow player options to be made public, which is farcical.
Why is that, Michael? Explain it to an idiot like me. Why are the RLPA so against us knowing what the players earn? We know that they're earning 6 times what a school teacher makes. Like, what does it matter?
I don't get it. They just think there's a privacy thing there. How would you like it if their view is how would you like it if we knew what you were earning? Well,
I get
we're not playing professional rugby league and like at the end of the day, I don't think that it's right. I think we should be up there. I think the third part, everything should be transparent. I'd love to see it. I think player options should be, the fact they've removed them from the NRL website is a disgrace. I think everyone needs to know what they're signing up for. And I think the Jerome Luai one was probably what caused the biggest issue when I reported last year that Jerome's 5-year deal, which was announced by the club, was actually a 2-year deal plus 3-year option. So the RLPA were blowing up that information had become public. And now on the NRL website, you can't even get that. You can't even find out if there's an option. But I'm okay with that if you don't know what the options are, as long as clubs aren't misleading their fans with like if for example, Jouro-player, like if the club announced it was a 5-year deal and you guys had no idea and we didn't find out that it was only 2, how would you feel November 1 when the story came out that he was being shopped to rival clubs and your club told you it was a 5-year deal? Like clubs, and I'm using the Jerome one in your case, but it's happened before. The Knights did it with Kalen Ponga. Like, you're furious. They shouldn't be misleading the fans like that. And
I want to know everything.
Well, and also it's not even the fans. It's like the other players. Like you play, for example, Lachlan Galvin. Let's say in a different world, he was in love with Journo-player and he was happy there and he's making a decision on his future. And then all of a sudden he found out that Jerome was free to leave. Like, I don't think it's good for the game to have clubs
secrets
misleading. I shouldn't use misleading because that got me in trouble on 100% footy last week. So I'll use a different word next time.
As
Michael, how do you choose the stories you cover?
I'm pretty lucky, like in terms of being allowed, my bosses allow me the freedom to just sort of, I just hit the phones all day, boys. I just sit on the phone and when I find something that I think that people want to know, and then it's a story. Like yesterday, I was making calls on the Trebojevic brothers, and it started off by me hearing that perhaps that Manly wanted Jake to retire, which was completely wrong, but that was the mail that I got. And it led to me making phone calls to find out that Jake's management is actually, Jake and Tom's manager had actually met with the club and discussed an extension, which is why I wrote the story I did yesterday, that it was there. So I think after all these years, I get a good gauge of what people want to read. Sometimes that doesn't mean on Monday I found out that Terrell Sloan was going to get dropped, but like it's in this day and age, like I don't know, for our audiences, you focus on the bigger stuff, and there are so many platforms of podcasts and social media. Like a lot of the time we put out a story and I don't even know half of these social media pages, but they'll take it and they'll put it up. They might give you a credit, but it's everywhere else before you've had a chance for people to read it. And for a business that relies on people reading your stories, who pay to read your stories, it's hard because your stories are exclusive for 3 minutes and they're everywhere else before you get the chance to capitalize on that. And that's difficult. And I know people say, oh, why is it behind a paywall? Well, if people might not agree. If you want to pay for quality journalism or information that you can't get elsewhere, well, that's what we like to pride ourselves on. And that's why I love those inside story pieces on what went down. And like the Galvin story on Benji, not the reason that he wanted to leave was because he didn't think he could develop under Benji. Like everyone just thought that was a slap in the face to Benji. No, at the end of the day, I want to know why. I'm sure you guys wanted to know, where's this come from? Why does he want to leave? So while it might evoke a sense of anger, it's coming from a place that most people want to know what's going on.
You kind of segued a little bit there. What I was going to ask, like my journalism career, I was a feature writer in a magazine. That's how that kind of shows my age. Most kids today won't even know what a magazine is. So in terms of how the media, even since we had you on, what year do we have Michael on? 23?
No,
I'd say 23.
No,
22 was it?
Madge was still there. Madge was still there.
Madge was still there. It's 21 or 22.
It's that long ago, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. We are getting old. Yeah, in terms of like even since then, like you're on Triple M, you're on, and I guess Fairfax becoming 9 might have helped that a little bit. But I mean, a lot of your journalists, obviously, all the news guys are on Fox. You guys have got Channel 9. You're more than like for years. I knew who Buzz Rothfield was, but I'd never heard his voice before, and now he's on NRL 360. So there used to be when I studied journalism, you choose to go into print, you choose to go on TV or radio. It's kind of all, and now social. I literally joined Facebook when I was studying. That's journalism. That's how old I am. It's just kind of blown up, and you become like across all mediums now. Like has that changed a lot? Is it just kind of your branding's kind of gotten big, but it just seems like we see the journos across all platforms now. You're not just the guy that has a column in the Sun Herald anymore.
Yeah, it's a good point. I felt like it changed over the last 6 or 7 years from when I started, obviously working in the paper. But I think that's the way you have to be now, like to sort of to a lot of these companies, these big media companies are multi-platform. Like I work at 9. We own the Sydney Morning Herald. They own 9 News. You own Wide World of Sports. They own 2GB. Like to be valuable to that company, you need to be across a lot of those platforms. And I made the decision a little while ago that I wanted to move down that path. I think I've sort of looked at a lot of American sports and a lot of the big names there. And I thought that's the way it's heading. Now we're obviously behind, but we're playing catch up in that. And people don't like it. Some people don't like the fact that, in a way, that sometimes the journos have become part of the story, not telling the story. I went through it last week with what happened with Gus. Like, that was bizarre for me. I've never been through anything like that, having been around the media for 15, 18 years, to actually, my phone just lit up. I'm just like, I felt like I understood what it was like to, just for a split second, to just be in the shoes of the people that we normally write about, and understand what they go through sometimes, because I was reading stories about what people were saying about me. So that was odd.
Are you going to be the next Stephen A. Smith? Is that your kind of path?
No, I don't have the charisma to be Stephen A. Smith. But I do. I love Stephen A. Smith. I love what they do over there, but you can't do that over here.
What I love about the American media is because, again, it's such a big market. So one of the reasons I started this show is seeing how they have literally beat reporters that follow the teams. So obviously it's one city, one team for the pro sports, but a journo would literally cover one team. So I don't know if the NRL will ever get big enough for that, but that was kind of the idea of me starting this, is because, hey, is there a market out there to just go all in on one team?
Sure, yeah. It's good. Like, it's great what you guys have done. You're giving the fans a voice, and you guys are representing them. And I think I went over to, what year was it? 2015. I was fortunate enough to be sent by the Sydney Morning Herald to cover Jared Haynes' NFL career. I was over there for 6-7 weeks, traveling around San Francisco, New York, Denver. Went to the NFL offices in New York. Got to experience some unbelievable things and see how they do things over there. And that was an eye-opener for me when I came back, and just seeing that it's so different. Like, where they all are, they're just beat reporters. And perhaps if I was, for example, if it was just a one-team town here covering the Tigers, you'd have to do things differently. I have the benefit of, okay, I might piss off some people, but that's okay. There's 16 other teams to cover, 8 other teams to cover in the NRL. And I know you're not going to make friends with everyone. Beat reporters are probably a bit different, but you don't have to be nice time to work out that Richard and I aren't seeing eye to eye, and we've had some pretty heated conversations. That's my job. And even the stuff that he put out with that statement around the kids that the Tigers put out a statement saying that two of the boys that didn't go to the RLPA, well, one of them's manager did, and the other one, the RLPA raised concerns with the club about the way he was being treated. And I feel like that point was lost on it. It was like, okay, I put my hand up. That's why I put the statement out myself, saying that there was a clarification. But the point was being missed there, that there were some issues around the way the players were being treated. But that's why you cover it differently if you're a beat reporter, because I don't think you can afford to have all those guys offside all the time if you're just covering one team.
Would you love to have the access to the American? Like, it's pretty crazy how, like, could you imagine the NRL journos being able to literally go into the locker room, they're fresh out of the shower, and you can literally have 6 of you guys standing around, I don't know, trying to think of Journo Luai's, I was going to say Lachlan Galvin, don't worry about him anymore. You go around Journo Luai, he's got a towel around him, and you literally, like, just the access that the American journos get is insane. Like, you guys get 5 minutes out of Benji if you're lucky in a press conference.
Yeah, we had that. We had that once upon a time. Like, when I first started, we'd go into sheds. Not quite the days where you're drinking with the players after the game, but you'd go in there and interview them at their locker. Definitely, yeah. I think it's gone backwards, and I feel like the way the game is covered is because of a lack of trust between journo and player, because they are trained from a young age that media is the enemy, and that filters through to everything they do. And that's why I love someone like a Journo. Jerome gets a bad rap. I know you guys love him now, but he's got a bad rap for a long time. But he's never been too big for his boots. He's always treated the media with respect. And that's the guys I have a lot of admiration for. Like, I know you guys are anti-Aaron Woods, but Woodsy always treated the media with respect. Tom Trebojevic, and there's always been the guys there who never look down at the media. They know that their role is to do what they do. And Jerome, the example that I give was the other night. Like, he'd just been dropped from the New South Wales team. And we were standing there at Campbelltown. They just lost. I think it was Brisbane, was it? Yeah, Brisbane they played. And I stood there in the tunnel. I was with Brent Reid and Scotty Bailey from AOP. And Jerome walks out, and he has no right. Like, I could completely understand if he didn't want to talk. Like, I get it, like, stuff that. But you know what? He walked out, and he did it with a smile on his face. He said, "No worries. Like, we actually apologized. We felt guilty for stopping him." He's like, "That's all good, man. No issues." And he was happy to do it. And I have a lot of respect for people like that who, you know what? We just are doing our jobs. And at the end of the day, they might look at us as journalists, but what we are is a platform to the fans, because we're not writing for ourselves. We're writing for other people to read and to see.
For sure. Yeah, there's definitely, not to hark back on my career again, but back in the day, the magazines.
I think he wants a job. I think he wants a job.
Yeah, there's something opening. You did a West Tigers beat reporter at the SMH, maybe. Yeah. No, just in terms of magazines, like I said, that was my background. I kind of missed. So I grew up reading Big League, Rugby League Week. That's why I wanted to get a journal. And reading the feature, like, you don't get a good, like, those magazines are dead. They're all, like I said, no one knows what a magazine. They've rehashed.
And what a shame.
Big League. But I miss, like, the big, long story. You still do a little bit for the Sun Herald and stuff, but everything is just tweets. And, like, I miss there being those features where you do a full 1,500 words on a player or about his history and where he came from. I used to love picking up and reading those stories back in the day. It's just, but it is the sign of the times. Yeah. Can you get a video from Bulldogs training and put it up on the internet? Lachlan Galvin. That's journalism.
It's a good point. It's a good point. And I miss it too. Like, I do it every now and then, but the problem is now you got to pick and choose when you do them, and they've got to be with a player who's going to get people to read. Like, I did something with Latrell last year. Now, that was a feature I put together, but people are going to read Latrell. If I did a feature on Heath Mason, however lovely it might be, it's not going to justify the time that I'm going to put into it, because we're based, as I said, we're a subscription-based media company, and people are paying to read our content. And if you're going to use that time to write a 2,000-word Heath Mason piece that might be read by 2,000 people, when I could have spent that time breaking 3 news stories or writing a feature piece on someone else, at the end of the day, it comes back to the business model of the place you're working for. And that's the way the Herald has moved. Like, we never used to be subscription-based, but because the papers have dwindled over the years, we rely on people paying to read what you have, and you need the majority of the people there reading it. So I'm with you. I love telling a story that many people haven't heard before, but unfortunately, it's a reflection of the time, reflection of society, and that perhaps those pieces don't belong in subscription-based media companies. Perhaps they're for the websites of the clubs or different websites.
Mate, I've got to discuss the elephant in the room with you.
Hit me.
Last Monday night, the night that made you a Tigers cult hero.
Mind your words, Rob.
I will mind my words. I'll be very careful. And if you can't answer this properly, I totally respect it.
Are you older than Gus?
No, Gus is older than me. Get stuffed.
How old's Gus?
Mind your words, son. Gosh.
Sorry.
Not even close. I think Gus is 65 or something.
Is he?
I don't know. Chammy, do you know how old he is?
No, I don't. I better be careful answering that one. Let's have a look. I'll Google it while you're talking. Phil Gould.
Mate, I was at school when he was playing in the 81 grand final. You know,
Sorry.
67.
He's 67. There you go.
I guess he's starting to look. Anyway, let's not get in trouble.
No, genuine question, mate. Look, obviously the situation about Gus being a GM and having an influence on this whole Galvin situation, I think it goes further than that, mate. If you go back to Seraldo going to Canterbury, Gus actually said during his media commitments, I don't think Seraldo should be going to a club like the Tigers, you know, in the position they're in. Yet he went to a club like Canterbury, who were in a very similar position to the Tigers. They were struggling at the bottom. Nothing against Gus, okay, but just as a general rule, do you think that sort of conflict is sustainable, or is it fair, or should the NRL step in? Like, Gus isn't doing anything wrong. He's doing the right thing by his club. I accept that. But you have to see how it looks to the rest of the NRL world. And obviously, if the Tigers are on the positive side of it, we wouldn't be complaining. But the fact is, we've had our potential future ripped away from us, whether he wanted to stay or not. It was done. Look, even Richo himself has said he was going to end up at Canterbury. He said that publicly months ago. He kind of knew what was going on, and that's why he threw the deal that he did at him. Am I being a little bit hypercritical of the conflict of interest, or do you think it's fair? And I respect that you do work with Gus, so if you can't answer that properly, I'll leave it to you.
No, look, I can understand fans' frustrations. My view is that I have no issue with Gus doing it, but I feel like that as long as he's held to account, which is why I did the other night. You know, if he's going to say things and then be in the position where he's working for Channel 9 and be the Bulldogs general manager, well, then the tough questions are going to come with it. And that's what I feel. That's what I was doing the other night. I wasn't trying to personally attack him, but I wanted to get to the bottom of what went down. And I actually don't think he was. Honestly, guys, I don't think he was the mastermind of this. Like, he wasn't at the meeting with Ciraldo and that. But obviously, there's a track record of fans feeling as though Gus may have misled them with what was going on. So this is Luke Vella, it's Cameron Ciraldo, it's Liam Ayub. They got the deal done, and Gus went along with it. So did Gus know what he was doing all those months ago when he said what he did? I believe so. That's why I said to him the other night about why he met with Isaac Moses and ended his 10-year feud. I always believed the end game was Lachlan Galvin. I spoke to the club about it in February. I was speaking to them about it. They were saying, no. Did I think that it was going to end so quickly? Probably not, but the moment that it became untenable was the moment it all blew up at the Tigers. So I got no issue with it. Maybe I am biased. I actually, as much as him and I don't see eye to eye, I love listening to Gus's views on rugby league. And I think the game would be poorer for it if he was taken off the airwaves or just told to focus on the footy. But I can understand why fans would be frustrated by what has unfolded.
Well, thanks for your answer, mate. I really appreciate that. And I know I put you in a little bit of an awkward position.
No, that's all good. No, that's fine. He might just punch me on Monday, but that's okay.
Guys, have you got any final questions? I think we've extended our 25 minutes a little bit too far.
We've got him for nearly an hour. Sorry, I was chewing your ear off.
That's all good. That's all good.
We wanted to talk more than just what happened last week with Galvin and stuff. It's great to get your opinion on absolutely everything across.
There was one random question. Where do you think Payne Haas will end up?
Bulldogs. No, I'm joking. I don't think he will end up with the Bulldogs because he's got the same manager. His manager is Jackson Torpenay's manager.
Okay.
And Jackson Torpenay is currently taking the Bulldogs to court over that wrestling session and the way he was treated or allegedly treated by the club. So I'd be stunned if there is any correspondence between Payne Haas's manager and the Bulldogs anytime soon. So I think he stays at the Broncos, but they just got to turn it around. I can't see maybe Perth throw 1.5 at him, but any club that has people contracted currently would find it hard to outbid Brisbane. Perth have the luxury of saying, stuff it, he's our first signing, we're giving him 1.5 and we'll work around it. No one else has that luxury. So I think it'll be Brisbane or the Bears.
All right. Well, not us. We can move on in the conversation. We've got plenty of money.
Well, Richo said he won't spend more than 900 on a prop anyway.
I don't know. I'd love to see you guys maybe go after someone like I don't know. Depends how Latu goes. I said that, but like Metcalf or a Jaden Campbell, like Jaden outside Jerome would be great. But as I said, Latu needs to be given a chance to make it his own. But you'll know by the end of the year whether or not he can. So, time will tell. Was he named on the bench this week? Is he back?
Latu's number 14.
Number 14, with Heath at 6. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, Michael. Literally, I think we've gone longer than the actual Triple M podcast tonight. So we really appreciate that. Please, if you want to plug, you're the man of the people, so they probably know where to find you. But do you want to give all your outlets a plug before you head off?
Oh, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, obviously, I think I annoy people's feed enough, right, to tell them where to find me. I think they're trying to get rid of me.
No, we love it, mate. Thanks so much for coming on.
No, we truly appreciate it. This has been one of the all-time best episodes ever. Great. Been a great
boys.
chat.
Appreciate
Thanks.
you having me. Thank you.
Thanks so much for your time, mate.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, guys.
Catch up soon. See ya.
How good was that? That was awesome. Thank you to Mr. Chammas coming on there. Yeah, we didn't. He was so kind of it to do that long with us. We apologise to him for going for an hour, but
and apologies if I started it all there. We had an echo going through our head.
I did a couple of times. I know.
I can hear it through yours.
We don't have the resources that the Triple M does, unfortunately. But hey, we're at a pub. We can't complain, can we?
I kind of knew he'd go an hour, even though he said 25 minutes. He's just no giving of his time.
I kind of forgot we're on a podcast. I was enjoying the chat myself. All right, I guess we'll keep talking about. We can start the episode now.
Well, I hope everyone enjoyed that anyway.
1 hour in.
Might be able to break it down on the outlets into two separate ones.
Yeah, we could make it episode A and episode B. That was awesome. I guess we'll get into talking. We haven't even talked about our sponsors yet. Do you want to talk about iChoice while we have our listeners?
Yeah, give iChoice a call, guys, for all your finance needs. 9743 0000. They're at the corner of the Boulevard and Liverpool Road at Strathfield. And a big thank you to Gym Direct. So anyone out there looking for gym equipment, they have a massive sale at the moment. And you, with our code, so I bring up my copy there. I didn't expect Rob to go that quickly. You can get 5% off on top of all the sale. They've got a massive sale, obviously EFS incoming. So with the code WTLSGD5, you get 5% off. Or if you're a personal trainer and contact them, you can get 10% off as well. So if you go to our link tree, which is westtigers.com.au, so without the S in there, there's a button there to go to our landing page on Gym Direct. And they're also sponsors of the Coach's Corner with Adele Haj, which was an awesome episode on Sunday evening. Rob, Adele was spicy this week. He was angry, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was going hard. So it's a good episode if you haven't heard that yet. I assume because of having Mr. Chammas on tonight, we might have a few new listeners tuning in tonight. So welcome to anyone that found us because of that. So if you want to hear West Tigers fan and also a professional coach breaking down the game, check out Coach's Report with Adele Haj. All right. Who did we play last week?
The Cowboys.
What are we doing again? Kind of lost track of where we're at. We unfortunately lost. We were here. We were for a lot of time watching the game down, heads down, silent. If you watch the live stream, we did live stream from the Orange Grove Hotel watching this game, and it was 28 to 6. Was that 32-6? 32-6. And we were silent. I felt bad. I was like, oh, we're not talking. And then we started to perk up, and then they scored again and again. And I said it on the stream. I bet you we lose by 2. I was wrong. We lost by 4 because Adam missed the last goal. Look, do we cop this as we should have been flogged, or do we cop it as in we could have won? Because you could make an argument for both.
I think it's a genuine game where we could have won. We had all rights to get flogged in the end, considering, we were down a player on the bench really early in the game because 12 went off for a HIA that he failed in. I think it was something like the 9th minute. We were basically down 2 players for the rest of the game because Royce Hunt had a 13 or 14 minute stint and went off after they scored their first try after the Luai sin bin, and he didn't return to the game. So we basically played the rest of the game with 15. So when you look at it from that point of view, and especially from what Alex Twal does defensively in the middle of the field, we had all right to get absolutely thrashed. But the way the team fought back under that sort of adversity after having to deal with those 2 sin bins, when there were multiple occasions where we probably all agree that there were times where the Cowboys should have had players sent to the bin, and things that weren't like potential penalties that weren't called, like a hip drop and things of that nature, where one of those was called against us. And it was just one of those games where I think you have to be really proud and impressed with the fight back. We obviously didn't see that in the game against the Storm. We didn't really have a chance to show that in the game against the Storm. But at 32-6, you're probably genuinely thinking, yeah, this could be another potential 50-pointer on us in the space of 3 or 4 weeks or whatever it would have been. But yeah, for the team to fight back the way they did, to really stick together, get back into a grind after scoring a few quick tries, and be a chance to steal the game late, shows the character and what this team does and how they want to play for their coach.
Rob, you gave your thoughts a fair bit with Adele the other night. Judging off that, probably disagree a fair bit with Az there. You're not quite as...
No, I certainly agree about the heart and commitment and then the never giving up. That's fine. It's not a negative. I'm not bagging the team. It's just a team that's lacking belief now and lacking confidence. I don't know how much of that is from the stress caused from this whole Galvin saga, but they're certainly playing till the final whistle. But I feel like they're going out there just hoping to win as opposed to believing they're going to win. Can't fault the commitment. There were certainly things that went against us. The 2 sin bins I thought were quite rough. 1, not getting a warning with Luai. 2, Adam Dewey was already heading towards Bateman before he got, before he got bumped in the shoulder anyway. And I believe Bateman initiated the contact anyway. I don't think Adam has a right to just actually, backpedal and get out of the way. I like the fact that, again, it's only a minor consolation. It doesn't help our position on the ladder, but that game 2 or 3 years ago is 66-6. It's not 32-28. Again, you get, and a lot of people have said this to me, and they're right. It doesn't excuse the first 57 minutes, but I do feel there were some extreme circumstances there that, why we did capitulate the way we did. I said it Sunday night. We're going to discuss a game coming up shortly. I think I'm really, really pleased with the team Benji has named. I think you're still going to get that 80-minute performance, and I don't think he actually could have named a better team. I'm happy that players that needed to be accountable for their poor performances, their lack of output, are not there anymore. But that said, it doesn't mean we're going to win. It doesn't mean we're going to win this. We've got guys in there, like Mason's played 9 games. Even Skelton, who is like one of our better players, he's only played 12 games and he's coming back off a 6-week or 7-week layoff. Kit Lowley, he's only played 2 games. Latu's played 11 games. We got a debutant in Murray. I know Penrith have got a debutant too and a couple of guys that haven't played many games, but Benji's done the right thing. It's basically like, okay, guys, you get a chance. Whether that turns into a win on the weekend, I highly doubt it, to be honest, and I don't mean to be negative. I'm scarred. I just see what's happened. I had so much hope for this year, and it seems to have gone. And like I said, when you're mentioning players that I've mentioned that have had limited game time, Heath, who did wonderfully well in attack on the weekend, is only having his 2nd game at 5'8" this week. Latu hasn't played a game for more than 2 months now. Same with Skelton. It's a big ask. And you're missing Bolle, and we've had to drop Hunt because, he only got 15 minutes out the other day. He's named in cup, so he's not injured. The cupboard is quite thin, but these guys deserve an opportunity. They deserve our support. Straight up, I don't think we're going to win, but you don't think I'm not going to be cheering like hell that the boys don't do well or get up. And this is what we have to do. This happened a few years ago, Josh. We needed to find out who can cut it and who does it. So now we see whether the debutant can do well, whether Kit has improved since his first couple of games with us. Give the kids a chance. Let them have a go. Like, what's the point of just having them fester in cup if they can't? And the guys that are coming up, like your Nadens, like your Hunts, they're not doing good enough, mate. So I'm not disagreeing with that. I actually think I more do agree with Aaron, but fundamentally it comes down to not believing and the confidence is gone. That's just an opinion. I don't know that for a fact. That all I can do, as I say every time I talk about the West Tigers, is judge what I see on the field. And I just feel like we don't get angry until the game's over. You know what I mean? Like, we're not going out there and taking the...
We get angry.
The players were like revved up. It's like, no, you're not going to thrash us. We're coming back into this. And And as Adele pointed out Sunday night, it was, 28-6, Aaron, that when we were 13 on 13?
Yeah.
Yeah, or something to that effect. So it's just a shame we didn't get a fair shake from the referees again. But, we keep saying the referees don't do us any favours every week. I still believe if the ref was normal, we would have found some other way to fall behind during the game. We've got to come out and attack the game by the throat. I don't want to go against Penrith and just think, oh, well, they're Penrith. They've won 4 comps in a row. We're going to shit the bed. Like, their left edge is quite new. And again, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but like their whole left edge, their left centre, their left winger, their 5'8", who they bought from Parramatta, he's only played roughly 25, 27 games in his whole career. So we can get them, but the problem is they've got stars. They've got like Edwards, they've got Cleary, they've got Liam Martin, they got real good they got rep players there in their team that know how to win. And we've got a couple in Luai and Taruva.
Yeah, we need to steal some more.
But we probably need to become the Penrith Tigers.
Come on, Brian.
Look, it's just going to. I think it's going to be a tough ride, guys. I don't want to be too negative, man, but I don't see us. I think the next winnable game is round 20. I really believe that, but we just got to hang in there, man. We've been through worse than this. We've won more games this year than we did in a couple of the years we got the wooden spoon combined. There's hopefully Richo, like I say, talks to the members and the fans and gives us some hope and buy some quality players and to add to this squad. We need it.
All right, let's hear a couple of clips from Benji and Appy in the post-match presser.
I was really proud of the effort for the boys to fight back into the contest and give ourselves a chance there. A few opportunities we missed at the back end. I'm proud of the way they fought. We just got to address some of the things that got us into that position. Like, there were some things in our control that we can be better at, but there are also things out of our control, like the 2 sin bins, I thought pretty harsh. The Nanai try going up as a no try, come back down, and he overruled the referee, which I thought he sort of took our player out. So there's a couple of things that we can't control, but there's definitely things we can improve on to not be in that position, But again, proud of the fight.
As I was expecting to be able to actually hear that a bit louder, did that come through a bit too quiet then? Could you hear it okay?
Well, I've got the volume on my laptop turned down, so I heard a little bit lower, but I think it was pretty good.
Yeah. Benji doesn't talk overly loud. But anyway, what did Benji say there? I completely forgot what he said.
So he was talking about his thoughts on the sin bins and how he thought they were a little bit harsh. He talked about the Nanai try and how he thought Taruva was taken out in the play.
Yeah, by Laybutt.
By Laybutt, yeah. So he thinks that potentially shouldn't have been a try as well. And he also mentioned that he was proud of the fight back and how we showed the grit to get back into the game. And I haven't actually gone and worked this out, but I've tried to think like how much of the 20-minute period where we were down a man did the Cowboys have the ball and how much defense did we have to do in that time?
Yep.
And I'd say out of that 20 minutes, the ball was with the Cowboys for probably about 14 to 15 of them. And it very well could have been more because they obviously went back-to-back tries in the first 2 sets after the penalty goal, after the Jerome Luai sin bin.
Correct.
There's a genuine chance that they could have gone a back-to-back try if not for a knock-on in that following set, which would have
forward pass, I think it was actually, to Nanai.
Yeah, the forward pass. Then if they got that, then obviously it's a completely different kettle of fish and the score potentially balloons out even more. But yeah, to put it in perspective, for them to have the ball for that amount of time while we're defending our absolute asses off, it's obviously going to tell and it's going to show. And a lot of the time when you see teams have to do work defensively like that, they can't get back into the game. And that's when the score does end up ballooning out, like in our game against the Storm where we got absolutely thrashed in the end. But for them to have to do that much work and then still find that extra gear to get back into the game, I think the bye really helped with that, coming off the bye, being rested, and having had the previous week off allowed them a bit of an opportunity to have a bit more in the tank later in the late stages of the game to try and get back into it. And I think that worked out really well in our favour.
But to further go on that, as we lost Twoley, how many minutes did Twoley play?
8 or 9. Yeah.
How many did Hunt play?
Hunt played
14,
15.
15.
Naden play?
Oh, he played a fair bit. He came on and played back row for a while.
My point is they played it essentially with 2 people on the bench. Like,
Yeah. Pretty much.
Like to come
15
back,
men.
like to the fact that he did come back. I thought based on that we didn't have a bench basically, which I think I said it on the stream. It sucks that if there's a HIA, you should be able to activate the 18th
I
man.
agree.
Why does it take 2 people? If like 18th man should be as soon as you. And I think
that system could be rorted a little
I
bit.
think it might have been Brennan said maybe because people will try to rort it.
I think that was me who said that.
Was it you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Brandon agreed. So Brandon agreed with me. I said,
Yeah. Either way,
you could say you've got a player who's struggling a little bit after 50 to 60 minutes, and you want to get
a doctor.
It's not always the independent doctor. The independent doctor only decides category 1 or category 2,
right?
Or category 3. I think there's a category 3 that you don't hear very often. But though it's only the category 1 cases where they're straight off. It's an immediate fail. The team doctor for a category, I think even for a category 1, for all of the categories of concussion, it's the team doctor that performs the test in the sheds. And that's why you'll sometimes see if there's a period of time where a team has 2 players in the 2 players in the head bin at the same time.
Oh, is this for me?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Where so it's 15 minutes for the first concussion and then 20 minutes for the second. So because it's only the team doctors that have the ability to perform those tests. So the team doctors could potentially rort that system or be involved in trying to game that system a little bit.
I just want to throw one thing at you, Josh.
Yeah.
If we're saying that the NRL care about the welfare of players, let's not change the rules. Let's have 17 players. Let's have the same amount of interchanges. You don't need an 18th man. Why can't we have 6 men on the bench, but you can only use 4 of them?
Like soccer.
Just have pretty much just have an extended bench. They've got all the positions covered, but once you've used a 4th different player on the bench, the other 2 players can't be used. Like, how hard is that? What is so wrong with that whole situation? You've got coverage from everyone from 1 to 13.
Yeah.
But once you use the 4th player, that's it. The other 2 blokes can't be used again. No HIA, no 18th man, no nothing. It's such a simple solution. And everyone's a winner. Like, if you lose a second rower, okay, you lose a 12.
Because they take 19. It's an hour before kickoff. It's 19, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
So just
but say for example, we decide we want to play Appy, okay, for 80 minutes as we are. Now, if we put Talon on the bench this week, Talon might not get used. Appy plays the 80. But if Appy goes off in the 10th minute, you can use Appy as that's your interchange. That's your substitution. But now you know that you had to use a hooker. And eventually 2 of those players won't get used. I don't think it's too hard to implement. I think the NRL talk a good game about caring about players and welfare and whatever. It's not changing the amount of interchanges. It's literally having another couple of blokes on the bench. You've basically got an 18th man sitting in a tracksuit anyway. So you've got 5 reserves.
Yeah.
What's wrong with having a 6 and just running it that way? Anyway, sorry, mate. Go to your next.
Also, correction. So it's 24 hours before the game is when the team gets cut from 22 or 23 down to 19.
To 19, an hour before.
Yeah.
It's 19.
Just leave it at 19.
Just quickly, did rugby league ever not have 4 on the bench?
It had mate, it's changed. Yeah, it's had everything.
As long as I can remember, it's only ever been 4.
Mate, it used to be you had to play half a game in either 3rd grade or reserve grade to be able to go on a really extended bench. No, in semi-finals back in the 80s and what have you, we had massive benches.
So when you're off, obviously the zero blocker thing, they're off. They couldn't come back on.
So believe it or not, this is the Tigers' luck. Okay, the next year, unlimited interchange came in, so you could just go as many as you wanted, which destroyed the game.
In 1990?
In 1990, yeah, next year, the very next year.
Enough,
and that's why the Tigers weren't competitive the next year. Like, they made the finals. They got bumped out first week of the finals, but yeah, they end up reducing it to a certain number of interchanges.
Okay, there you go. Bit of a history lesson.
And so just a little bit more clarification for you guys
and
for the listeners on how the 18th man works. So you've got obviously the 2 head bins. If 2 players fail the head bin, that's when they're allowed to bring on the 18th man. But the other reason that they can bring him on is if an incident of foul play results in a player failing a HIA or getting injured.
That's still stupid that 2 people have to get injured for 1 person to come on. There's one genuine
so your bench is still down to 3.
The 18th man should come on. And people talking about rorting it, if just get the doctors to do their job properly and we move on.
They want fatigue in the game and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. All right. Benji.
Fatigue is what can lead to injuries as well.
Well, the game's hard enough playing 13 on 13. So playing 13 against 12 is hard. And then, obviously being on a lot of penalties and 6 agains, that hurts too. So we're constantly defending. I think we had 40% possession in the first half and completed real low. That didn't help. So we just got to stick together. There were things in the second half I think we can take away around playing positive footy and be upbeat about those things, but also identify what we need to work on and be better at those things.
All right, Rob, you heard 2/3 of that, I think.
Yep.
Thoughts on that comment?
The last third of it I heard. We're meant to be upbeat. I'm just being a realist. I'm not going to get down on things. I'm not going to get too upbeat. I'm just going to be middle of the road. You just got to persevere. Like they can see what's going on in the coaching walls. They know what's going on. They know how tough it is. They know they're down to the bones in terms of the players they've got to pick. We just got to move on. Like, what do? You just whinge and cry and whatever, like we do as fans every week. For me now, it's not about winning. It's about rebuilding again, unfortunately, which is quite sad to say, but that's who we are. We'll be through. We've gone through worse. We'll maybe hope we don't go through worse again, but hopefully the only way's up.
It was always going to be really tough this season as well. In like a lot, we obviously all had, us and the entire fan base had a lot of expectations around like potentially finishing in the top 8 and stuff like that. But realistically, to go from 3 wooden spoons to top 8 would be nigh on impossible. I mean, in a comp as even as this, it is really possible.
Very possible.
But generally speaking, you're not going to see that. Even a team with 1 wooden spoon hardly ever turns it around and makes finals the next year. Like you look at the Broncos in 2020, I think they missed the finals in 2021. The Knights, after their 3 wooden spoons in 15, 16 and 17, in a 16-team comp, obviously, they made it to 11th in the 2018 season. So there was market improvement there for them based on where they were at. And I think if we end up around that same sort of mark, then that sets up a potentially really good building block for next year, depending on who we can get in from other clubs.
You shouldn't put limitations on a team. I stand corrected, but I'm pretty sure that the 2009 Roosters, wooden spooners, made the grand final the next year.
The Roosters do that somehow, though.
Okay, I know it's the Roosters, but the point is, like, it can be done. I think the disturbing thing for me, not really being all over what the squad was looking like pre-season, Josh, was I didn't realise how bad our prop forward stocks were. Like, I know Hunt is that sort of impact 15, 20-minute player sort of guy, but, geez, we only lost 1 prop and we're screwed. I know Clemmer's gone. We had to do that for financial reasons because he would have earned a bonus had he played X amount of games. But we need props. We need a second rower. We probably need a centre. There's plenty we need.
Well, here's Benji talking about our 5'8".
Yeah, I love him, man. He's a ball of energy. He works really hard and he came up with some big plays tonight for us.
Is that what you think, Benji, Simon?
I thought he was great tonight. To be thrusted into 5'8", he's played all in New South Wales Cup at fullback. So to get an opportunity in the halves, it's a big task to come to the front line defend, and I thought he was great in defence. And then he brought us a lot of spark and energy with the ball. So really proud of how he went tonight.
And he stayed down there at the end. Was he hurt or just a bit stung?
Oh, just tired, because they fought so hard to come back to it. He was everywhere on the field, so. Yeah, happy with the way he went, but obviously we would have loved to get the 2 points. But again, a lot of improvement.
Alex Trial.
Yeah, I thought Heath Mason, considering, as you said, the top earlier in the show, Rob, the fact that it was his second, it was his first. So this week is his second go at 5'8" in first grade. Couldn't imagine too much time training in that position unless they tried out at training or something. But I thought, look, Benji's let him go again this week. He's got the 6, earned it for this week. There's not much better. He could have scored an amazing try as a ball runner. There's not much more he could have done or to exceed our expectations of how he played.
Oh, he exceeded my expectations. I know he missed 8 tackles. He was always going to miss some tackles. He's not that sort of guy defensively yet. But if the first game we're going to get out of Heath Mason, Josh, is 123 metres a try, a couple of offloads, a couple of line breaks, And he could have even done more. I said it Sunday, so I don't want to be too repetitive, but he's the sort of guy, especially given that he's been playing a lot of fullback in Cup, he's the sort of guy I want sniffing around the ruck, backing up a Terrell May and a Twal when they're offloading the ball. You know, he had to do his job and, you know, sort of keep his mind his part of the field. But if he can just have a little bit of a roving role, you can see when he gets the ball, he's dangerous. He's got that wicked right foot step. He's speedy. He knows how to find the try line. Look, very encouraging signs. And at the worst case, you know, when Latu's fully fit, he will be a more than capable 14 going forward. So it's really
Connor Watson.
Adele said Connor Watson. I felt more like, you know, he just probably because of the headgear, he reminds me of Jai Gray. But yeah, look, you call him whatever he wants. If he does the job, I call him the King of England. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
You don't want the King of England coming in and pushing you around, do you, Az?
Yeah, no.
Old man Rob wouldn't have got that reference. We're out of clips, Rob. You don't need the headphones anymore.
Beautiful.
Let's move on to player ratings. So thank you to everyone who voted this week. We'll get into your comments of the week. So lots of mediocre scores this week. Dream Buller 6.2, Sania Taruva 6.1, Adam Dwayne 5.6, Stafford Toa 5.9, Charlie Staines 6.0, Heath Mason 6.1, Jerome Luai 5.9, Terrell May 5.8, Appy Coruscant 6.0, Royce Hunt 4.7, Samuela 5.8, Alex Safar 5.6, Twally 5.7 for his. How long did he play for again? 8 minutes?
8 minutes.
8 minutes. Brett Naden, 5.5. Jack Bird, 5.7. Tiani Fainu, 5.4. Tony Sukar, 5.7. It's definitely in terms of the numbers across the board. What's our lowest is 5.4.
4.7.
No, sorry, 4.7. Royce Hunt's a bit of an outlier there. So apart from Royce Hunt, the lowest is 5.4, and the highest is 6.2. So less than 1 point between 16th and 1st.
Yeah, I think that's the smallest gap we've had from the best to the worst ever. But that said,
usually outliers.
I 100% believe Terrell May has to pace himself, and he's certainly gone off the boil in some ways. But then when I look at his numbers and see 207 metres, he played 75 minutes and made 42 tackles, none missed. I don't know how he gets that number.
Well, a lot of these people, as we said,
that's what I'm saying. Like by Terrell standards, that's even a 7 or an 8. But
most people submit these post game.
I actually think they're the most realistic bunch of figures we've had this year, other than Terrell. I don't know. How do you see it, Aaron?
I mean, I agree in some regards. Obviously, it's the fact that such a narrow spread is really interesting, considering we haven't had that so far this year. Most players, I'd say, are probably around that mark. I'd probably rank a few players a little bit higher.
Yeah, same.
Obviously, the 3 players I put in my 3-2-1, I'd probably put a little bit higher than what they are here. But I was surprised that Royce Hunt got as high as 4.7, considering he only played 15 minutes and made 13 tackles and missed one really bad one that led to a try.
He's got a cult following. I'm not a fan of that type of player. Given, like we said, we lost 12 after 8 minutes. He couldn't come back on. I know we finished 32-28, Josh, but imagine when they kicked off at 32-24. We had some go forward from a Royce Hunt with 10 minutes left and go down, you know, earlier. Like we scored with 3 or 4 minutes left, but when we got to 32-24, there was 10 minutes left. The guy came off after 15 minutes with 10 minutes left. That equates to roughly 60 minutes. Am I right? So what have we got? 25, 10 and 30. Yeah, 65 minutes. He had a rest. He couldn't come out and put another 10 minutes in. I do not get the whole Royce Hunt thing. Like, probably a lovely guy and that's who he is or whatever, but he's an absolute myth. And the club has made very, very good signings this year. He has had a couple of games where he has contributed. I think his time's just, he's got to find a way to get more output, or I don't want to see him back in first grade.
Mega Bad Seed on YouTube asked what are these scores out of. I don't know if he's joking, but 11 out of 11.
Yeah, they're out of 8. They did really well.
Their star ratings. Our man Shane Collett quickly got our back. Yeah, obviously out of 10.
Yeah.
But I think he might have been making a joke, but who knows? Righto. Yeah. Anything else? I'm kind of hurrying along because I want to Try and get under 2 hours. tonight.
We if you want to hear more about that
3, 2,
game.
1. 3, 2, 1.
Oh yeah, 3, 2, 1.
As
Yeah, so I gave my 1 point to Heath Mason. I thought really solid game at number 6. Obviously missed a lot of tackles, but you can't fault the effort of the youngster. Thought he played really well. Showed that he's potentially got maybe a future in that position, or as a 14 utility that can back up a few players in a few positions. I gave my 2 to Api Coruscant. He was one of the main reasons I thought why we started to really get back into the game the way we did. He's always scheming around dummy half. Drew us a few penalties and 6 agains from just that sneakiness, even though Sutton was obviously disinclined a lot of the time to try and reward him for what he was doing. But he's
Was that a pun? Disinclined? That's all right. The bunker. It's okay. We won't go there.
No,
Ashley Klein.
Ashley
That's all right.
Klein.
Oh, Klein, yeah, okay. I mean, I've had the galvanized one a few times, but anyway,
We need to stop saying that word.
I thought he was really good. He's as a leader in particular. He and Luai are doing a really good job of trying to keep the team up, and I think Luai did a decent job of making up for his time in the sin bin. And then my 3, I really found it tricky to decide my 3 and my 2 between Coruscant and the player I did give my 3 points to, which was Buller. He did make a few errors. I think the final count was 3. But he was here, there, and everywhere in that, particularly in that comeback, and a big part of the reason, as well as Stafford Toa, why we made that comeback with those 2 players. And I was just really impressed with Jareem and how he really put himself out there. He tried his hardest to get us back into the game and did a really good job of it.
Rob?
I gave 1 to Mason for the reasons we've discussed already. I gave 2 to May for the reasons I've discussed already. And I gave 3 to Buller for Aaron's reasons and the fact he's just the best player in our team. He's there from the first minute to the 80th minute, and he somehow just keeps us in the game, gets us back in the game. I just love everything about him.
Yeah, we'd love a contract extension. That'd be, look, we want signings for coming out of the club. Where would Buller extension rate amongst that?
It's probably up there now,
Pretty
isn't it?
pretty highly.
I think
so
Buller and
that'd be
Terrell
nice.
May would be the, they'd be the ones down the track. But again, we need to stop worrying about contract extensions. Just do the job on the field,
Sure.
and then players will want to be at the club and want to stay and say they're well coached and not whinge and not leave and all that sort of stuff.
A certain member of our Discord would absolutely lose their mind if Jareem re-signed further than he already has.
Yeah, I wonder who.
Yeah, that's true.
Private joke.
Dream got the 3 based on your vote. Taruva and Heath were 0.01 apart or something. So Taruva got the 2. Heath got the 1 there. So 3 1s for Heath there. And so overall, we thought Terrell May was going to run away with it, but it's actually, if I can find my totals here, he's not far behind now. He's only, well, Terrell did sneak in a couple of points. Buller's only 5 points behind Terrell now. So,
I think you'll catch him.
And you were saying, I think after what,
He won't be
4
caught.
or 5 weeks, he won't be caught and he'll run away with it because he was getting points every week.
I didn't know.
But Noah Pole is still third, funny enough.
Yeah, but I didn't know
Yeah.
Benji was going to play him for 100 minutes every week.
All right, our best comments of the week. So thank you. So for those that don't know, after the game, if you follow us on the socials, I post a link for the Google sheet where you can rate each player out of 10. You can also leave a rant. Man, some people are leaving some huge essays in there. But
I read them this week.
You read
Even
all of them?
the ones that don't want the voucher, I still read all of those.
That's good to know out there. I can only pick a couple to put on the show because it'd take another hour to read them all. But the boys we do read all of them as we put them on the show. David G said, last game I wondered who would name their kid Wyatt. Today I now wonder who names their kid Gerard. 2 really harsh sin bins when again there could have been one for the Cowboys early on in the comeback for a player being held back. A ridiculous call from the bunker to overturn a no-try call. Who names their son Ashley? This actually made me think, do you know any male Ashleys?
Yeah, there was one in my class at school.
Was there?
Yeah.
There's a lot of female Ashleys.
No, I
but-
don't actually.
Yeah, I know. a family friend of my parents is a male, Ashley, but I'm trying to think in terms of us, our millennial.
They just call
generation.
them Ash, don't they? They just cut the Lee out and just go with Ash.
Actually, I do know one. Now you said Ash. I do have a mate called Ash. Sorry, Ash, if you're listening. He's probably not. He's not a Tigers fan. Skipped forward ahead 1 second. David G said nope. Computer's a bit slow. Sorry. All things West Tigers said. A few issues. This was a huge one. I just cut a little bit for this one, but thank you to whoever is the All Things West Tigers on this one. A few issues stood out to me. He did list about 8 of them, but I picked 2. We're still losing first up contact far too often.
Definitely.
With the exception of a few absolute workhorses like Terrell May, Sione Fainu, the young ball Tony Suka. These blokes are bending the line and setting a standard. We're not putting enough pressure on the kicker. This is a big one we're talking about with Shane and Brennan and on the stream the other night. Put up the kick. This is me talking now. I'll finish his rant first. Apart from Suka, again, that lack of pressure is making life hell for our back 3 who are getting buried under high balls with no time or space. Absolutely. If we're kicking from inside the half, the precedent was set as we talked about the Taruva being chopped from underneath for Nanai's try. Why the hell we should have this? What was it called? The deflector, the interactor, disruptor. That was policed for about 3 weeks. So why every time the Cowboys were catching a bomb, why was there not a West Tigers hand at least near his face? Like, just man.
Because
and
when we do it, we get penalised. That's why.
Yeah, it's just
Simple.
it's so annoying. These just inconsistencies in calling. I don't understand how that Nanai try got. Not only did it become a try, it became a try after the ref called no try. Like, it got overturned by who was in the bunker?
Klein. So Klein was literally looking for any way possible to award that try, and he basically was looking for any way possible of making every decision he made, including putting Appy on report for honestly something he didn't end up getting charged for in the end. So what was the point? What was he? He was fishing for something, and he continued to fish for things all throughout the game.
Yeah, I'd like him to go out to sea, that's for sure. David G said last time no, that's what I just read. Sorry. Let's pick so for the $20 voucher for the Orange Grove, who picked Joel C?
Yeah, I did. Well, you've heard this all before, guys. So Joel C, you'll be very happy that I asked Michael Chammas his question, but I'll just read out what you said anyway, because it was your question. Hey, guys, I'm a big fan of the show. I want to share a possible point of discussion for your upcoming episode with Michael Chammas that no one is talking about. This isn't the first time Gus Gould has used the position in the media to manipulate the market and interfere with West Tigers making signings. He did the same thing when we wanted Cameron Ciraldo. Gus publicly said Cameron Ciraldo shouldn't sign with a club that are in a build, being a young coach. Gus then signed him to the Bulldogs, who are also at the start of that rebuild, which is literally what I asked him. Just another example of Gus manipulating the market to his advantage. The NRL need to investigate Gus Gould, which they won't.
And that obviously means that as you picked load, sorry again, slow computer. Come on.
I've got it on my screen.
Okay, go
I had
for
it on my screen, but you've just lost
took it off. It went on his screen.
Yeah.
I can bring it up in our chat anyway, and it's not that far up, I don't think. So there it is. So I chose Cam B, who says, losing sucks. Both sin bins were 50-50 calls, and of course it was the Tigers that lose out. 2 Oscar-worthy dives from Bateman lead to points, and let's all ignore that drop ball from Drinkwater at the end. I feel like my frustrations have moved from the Tigers to the NRL as an organisation. My tinfoil hat worry is that the NRL is motivated to keep the Tigers in shambles on and off the field. It makes it easier to move the club to make either a second New Zealand team or another Queensland team with minimal other club outrage. That way the comp stays under 20 teams. Tinfoil hat off now, and I'll just keep paying my membership and supporting them each week.
So to Cam and what was your guy's name?
Joel,
slide into our DMs, guys, or podcast at westlife.com on the email. and we'll pass your details on to the OG. And you can come pick up your $20 voucher from the bar. Join us on a Wednesday night, or when's our next away game?
A few weeks away. We've got buy in 15, Raiders 16, away in 17, I think, to Manly.
I knew I could rely on you to answer that question. Righto, let's get on to, we'll do lower grades quickly before we do our tips. Trying to be quick, but the computer's
good.
Not.
I know you're going to get to 2 hours, mate.
Yeah,
it's happening.
Can't.
Clock's ticking.
Clock is ticking. All right, let's go to our tips. Because it's just not loading the lower grades.
Okay.
I do know that we're playing in New South Wales Cup. We are playing the Bulldogs before the Bulldogs game. You couldn't write this script. So if Lachlan Galvin plays second grade, which he probably won't, he'll be playing against Tain Silva, and the
tips came up.
Magpies. Yeah, I know. I was trying to bring up the lower grades, but we'll go straight to tips. That's all right.
Well,
Jersey flag. I'll look up where Jersey flag is. Go.
Okay, so Newcastle are playing Manly this week. I think we've all gone Manly, and I think anyone that tips the Knights should give up tipping. They are not going to win another game, hopefully, until their coach leaves, because they are not playing for their coach.
I should give up this year, but I tip Manly.
Yeah, I've got Manly as well.
Okay.
Daly Cherry Evans will have a point to prove.
Who are the Melbourne are playing North Queensland, aren't they?
Yep.
Is that an afternoon game?
6 p.m.
6 p.m. Okay, well, I've gone Melbourne, but I think, given that we should have flogged North Queensland in hindsight,
they should.
Melbourne's a lock. We all Melbourne?
Yep. In Melbourne too. Hard to go against them.
Yeah.
This was one of the harder games, like Dolphins and St. George. Saints played well against the Knights, and Dolphins are coming off the bye. How did we all go there?
I went
boys?
Finns.
Yeah, I went Finns. Aaron, have you gone Dragons?
I thought I went Finns. I'm checking.
Oh, there you go. You might have to change it if you want to change
Did
it.
I put the wrong graphic up again?
Well, there's 3 different graphics.
Yeah, you've got 8 games there. Last week was 7 games. So
okay. No, apparently I have tipped the Dragons, but I did do this at nearly 3 a.m. this morning. So
after covering the whole country, you Lachlan brother, you
basically. So I am changing that as we speak.
Lachlan brother.
I'm interested to see.
I did mean to go the Dolphins.
Do you know who the Lachlan brothers are as?
No.
Yeah.
Mike and Mal Leyland. They used to do a show every week. Anyway.
And you don't think you're as old as Gus?
No, we don't want to deflect too. We're running late. Oh my God, we all went Sharks.
Yeah, who was Sharkies playing again?
They're playing New Zealand. So
it's tough. It's tough.
It is a very tough game.
I was tempted to go Waz, but home. I mean, the Sharks haven't really been that good at home either. So
and they lost last night.
They beat the Storm there. I mean, I think that's probably one of the big factors in this one. I mean, beating the Storm at Shark Park, they do seem to grow an extra leg there. So I'm going with them, but not with a great deal of confidence.
When in doubt, I'm going home team. That's my stupid
me
logic.
Too. That's my logic.
Sione Katoa has his first game back for Cronulla on the wing for the whole year.
We've all gone Broncos.
That's a hard game.
Yeah.
Broncos and Gold Coast. Broncos suck. Gold Coast were very admirable against Melbourne on the weekend. So that is one where I really could have tipped Gold Coast, and I probably should, but you just keep looking at that Brisbane team and you think, how do they lose? If there's no rain up there, this will be a high-scoring game. They generally do put a lot of tries on, so might be good for a Barnett multi, I reckon.
Barnett multi.
Not that you need much encouragement there.
Barnett multi.
It's like how are they outside the top 8 with the team they've got?
I know, it's crazy, and I think it's something like they've won 1 out of their last 7 games, so they probably flogged us.
And they've gone almost putrid since.
And it's a bit like Melbourne. Melbourne have won and had a loss since they've had the 64-point flogging. Like, these teams aren't as good as we all think they are if you actually show up and believe in yourself.
And that win against the Titans, even that was sketchy for the Storm. Like, there was a genuine possibility early on that they could have ended up losing that game.
Yeah.
We've all gone Raiders.
Yeah, this is Raiders against South. South do get everyone back, though. They've got Jack Whiten back. They've got Cody Walker back.
Oh, Whiten's back, is he?
Canberra are due for a loss, but I think they're just
they're
along
at home.
too good.
They're at home.
But it'll be a tight game.
It's freezing cold in Canberra. I think it's snowing in Canberra at the moment.
Yeah, this was I know Canberra should win, but I don't think this is an easy game to choose. We all Canberra?
Yeah, we're all Canberra.
West Tigers versus Penrith. Okay, let's see who the real Tigers fans are here, because apparently I'm not when I tip against them every week.
Yeah, I tipped against them in my family comp, but I've looked like a hero on our comp by tipping.
That's what I should do. I should put the Tigers and just change it up.
Yeah, just change it. Just lie. Yeah, lie to the people. No,
Okay, next time.
People will work it out because they'll be able to see your score from the
that's
previous week.
yeah.
Bloody Roosters, they cost me a perfect round.
I think we can win this. Yeah, a lot of this is hope. We're at home.
We're at home at their home, which is away from
Which is also
their home and
Parramatta's
our
home.
It's a neutral.
Yeah.
It's a neutral. Yeah, neutral.
Our home away
game.
from home, their home away from
Look,
home.
we'll have the wall, the Tiger wall, won't we?
And just
And
to
the
prove
hill.
they played there last week as well, so they know.
So
exactly.
they
They'd
know.
be very familiar with every blade of grass. They did. Oh, that's right. So that was
Yeah, they hadn't
Penrith's
won a
first
game
home.
there since.
They haven't been winning at Combank for some reason. Imagine not being able to win away from your natural home ground.
We've done all right there recently. Haven't we? We've been
Uh,
Eels this year,
Off
I
the
don't know. Really.
off the top of my head, I think we're at like maybe 35 to 40% there, which
which is good for us.
considering how we
Yeah.
started there, not too shabby.
It's not far behind Leichhardt. Yeah, we've had a few good wins there. The Cheekham against South, obviously 2 field goals back to back.
That's why we had back-to-back wins in
Yeah.
a year where we came dead last.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Appy's sideline conversion against the Dolphins.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Easter against the Eels last year. So I mean, it's a completely different team to those, but
Away against the Eels earlier this year as well.
Away in round 2.
so who knows? Who knows? But yeah, planning is Nathan Cleary. I feel like Nathan Cleary hasn't played against the Tigers much in recent years. We kind of get him in
Yeah.
circumstances where we don't. So
It's also the fact we haven't played them twice in a season for quite some time as well. I think the last time we played them twice in a season might have been 2021, which you can't complain about that when they're topping the comp every year.
Exactly.
when did we beat him? 22 or something? 23.
We beat him at Leichhardt in
In
21.
21, yeah.
And we beat him at Bathurst.
Stefano scored
when
that
did we beat
day.
him at Bathurst?
23.
23.
The
Last 5 years
Cleary's a
it's
wanker chant.
molded
Remember that?
together.
We
Yeah,
beat
I do remember that.
And Doggies are playing
Para.
Para.
They reckon
King's
they're going to
birthday.
get 65,000 for that crowd. So,
65,000.
Because they've dropped costs for tickets again.
and we'll get to see our ex-player playing against his favourite team.
That's at a core too, isn't it? Lockie Dawes on Sunday.
He'll be playing, by
As-
the way. Don't listen to all
Lockie.
this crap that he's not going to play.
Wonder if anyone, will be going out to watch the Magpies to play before that. But yeah, God, Bulldogs fans made absolute dicks of
Aren't
themselves.
they, aren't they intolerable at the moment now?
I just
They are going off.
acting like they've won a comp already.
I can't stand them for, obviously you guys know my reasons for not being able to stand them, but
I actually
yeah,
have to go
they're not
Parramatta
great.
this week. I'm
As
cheering
having a
Parramatta.
bad you had a bad experience with Bulldogs fan. I don't think you're alone on
Twice.
Yeah, you're not alone on that. You're not alone on that. Plenty of people we've literally seen, they're picking on us. We've literally seen in
The Raiders
reports-
drama at Belmore after the Belmore game last year
Dickheads.
as well.
Yeah,
and
not all
the
I
drama
shouldn't say
around
all
that.
dickheads. I know plenty of
No,
nice
they're
dog
not. There's
fans,
dickheads in every fan base
but
at games. Like, they'll all get into fights.
yeah, there's a reason.
Our own get into fights. There's video of it recently.
I remember going
Two Tigers fans getting into a fight with each other at Campbelltown the other week.
That's
Yeah.
one. That's one. Yeah, one dickhead. But we could.
Two dickheads.
I remember going to Bulldogs games. I remember going to a Tigers Dogs game. They literally had riot police parked outside the court. What was it then? Telstra Stadium.
Seems like they need it again now the Bulldogs are going half decent.
Yeah, they're all back. They're even rocking up to non-Dogs games in their Dogs clothes. All the best to them. The Magpies did beat the Jets last week, so they're going on a bit of a comeback. The Maggies.
Jets were fourth as well going into that game against us.
Stats man, what have you got for us quickly as we try and beat the clock?
So halfway through the season now, most teams have played 12 games. Some have played 11, and the Raiders, who are the only team that haven't had a bye yet, have played 13. So I wanted to have a quick look at where we stacked up in the grand scheme of things for average points scored and conceded again. I did this, I think it was after round 5 or 6 or something. It might have been after that Broncos game, actually. So at the moment in attack, we are just got to find us. There we are. So we are 12th in points for with 21.2. First is the Storm with 33.3. So we're quite a ways behind them. Last is the Knights with 13 and a quarter. So we're not quite I mean, it looks like we're close to the bottom, being 21.2, but there are a lot of teams in that same sort of ballpark. And then in points conceded, we are tied 13th with the Roosters exactly at 26 points conceded per game, because both teams have played 12 games and both have conceded 312. The best defensive team at the moment is the Dogs. Surprisingly, the Knights are second. So the Dogs 18.4 and the Knights 19. The worst team defensively is the Titans at 30.7. So we're 5.7 points better than the Titans at the moment. So if we want to continue to try and press for the bottom part of the top 8, we're going to have to, I think, try and get our defense back to where it was early in the season, where we were, I think, 10 points, 8 points, 8 points in our first 3 games.
A couple of super chats. Thank you to Greg. So if you are watching live, you can actually chuck us a tip. First one, I believe, from Greg Trindle. Thank you, Greg. $3. He says, Tigers upset. Thank me later.
Hope so, mate.
Hope so, Greg. And then Shane, he threw us $5 as well. Super fan of the show, Shane Coet, and Discord regular.
Say we will win on Sunday.
I would say we're a decent chance.
Shane Coet.
He said, we will win on Sunday. I want top billing and a huge wrap when I'm proven right next week. I don't know why I know this. I just do hear that, Rob.
Yeah, I'm actually shocked because Shane's pretty realistic, so I do get a bit of hope that for Shane to come out and say that. Okay. He's feeling positive about the team, which is good.
He's a 9 out of 10 most.
Well, I'm positive about the team name. I really, really like what Benji's picked this week, so I just hope they don't let him down.
And he tells us, a few people in the comments. Sorry, there's been so many comments tonight. It's been tough to keep up. Patreon.com/WestsLife. Apparently, a few people are asking how the Discord works. So if you sign up at patreon.com/WestsLife for a couple of bucks a month, I get a notification on my phone and I shoot you a message pretty much as quick as I can, as when it comes up, and I give you a link. Bang, you're in. Or you got to download the Discord app, I guess. But for those that don't know, Discord, I mean, Adele worked it out. Adele's in the Discord.
I was just going to say, you're actually not going to work it out and actually plug that Adele's in there.
Yeah, Adele's in there.
That'll get used to people. That was donated to the Josh Barnett.
Is he still
Foundation.
in there? Because
he's not leaving.
The guys didn't scare him off.
No, he loved it.
Yeah.
He actually loved it. He couldn't believe how enthusiastic it was.
Yeah, no, it's
actually sees it on game day. That'll be the determining factor.
Well, he will be coaching when that's on. But yeah, Adele's in there now, so you want to come to chat
even more reason you can ask him anything you want.
Us. But join all our guys and girls.
We're just being ditched.
We've built such a great little community in there, and we just, as I think Shane wrote before, as we say, it's like Twitter without the dickheads. So
pretty much.
Come join. It's like an app. We talk a lot of NHL talk by a certain person with these certain Florida Panthers making a certain
There is an NHL
final
thread, though, isn't there?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Please keep your chats to the right threads. Right channels, sorry.
He was calling it a pop-up because he wanted to replace the Galvin negativity
no
with
one cares
positivity.
about hockey in Australia.
Exactly.
No one cares.
Go Edmonton.
Go the Avs.
Oh, spicy.
Righto. What are we up to? I think we're just about done for the evening. We're just going to scrape in under the 2 hours. Thank you to Michael Chammas.
Skip the preview.
What did I skip? Oh.
The entire preview of our game.
The phone. Did we not preview the game?
No, I haven't done my traditional team list readout yet.
Maybe we'll do it for the Patreon people. And my phone, the camera's died as well. The phone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the phone's died.
All right, well, just sign off, mate. Just sign off. We'll preview this week's game next week on West Tigers.
A double preview.
Yeah, double preview.
You basically talked about the team.
Yeah, a little bit. We have mentioned the team a little bit.
Do I have the team list? I don't think I actually made a slide for the team list. All right, read the team list as. We've got 6 minutes. 6 minutes.
All right.
Can you get the charger from the car?
I've got it.
Got
It's just obviously didn't turn the charger on.
Okay.
But
all right. So starting with the Tigers, fullback Jareem Buller, wingers Sania Taruva and Jaral Skelton, centers Adam Dewey and Stafford Tyre, Heath Mason and Jerome Luai in the halves, Terrell May and Sione Fainu are the starting props with Api Coruscant at hooker. Samuela Fainu and Tony Suka are the starting second rows, with Alex Seyfarth moving to lock. Our bench is Latu Fainu, Jack Bird, Kit Laulii, and the debutant Charlie Murray. Luke Laulii is our 18th man. Tain Silva, Charlie Staines, Brent Naden, and Eli L. Zackham are our reserves.
Regular listener Tom Smith on the Facebook literally wrote about 2 minutes. There's no tech issues tonight, and literally as he's written that, the camera's
The camera's just
That's all his fault.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, thoughts. 2-minute thoughts on.
Okay,
The
I'll
game
be
was
very
supposed to
quick.
be here.
Very quick. Welcome back, Gerald Skelton. Heath, don't let us down because you did great last week. I hope you do it again. Hope Tony Suka backs it up. Sione Fainu, you only got 20-something minutes for some stupid reason last week. I'm glad you're starting, and I hope you bust out good minutes. Welcome back, Latu Fainu. You are a little champion, and you are going to be sensational with Jerome Luai the next 3 years at least. And welcome back, Kit. I want to see those off-the-back fences like you did in the trial against Canterbury. And welcome to Charlie Murray. I know nothing about you, but you're getting your shot, mate. You probably only get 10 or 15 minutes, but we're right behind you.
Is it related to Jamal, do you reckon?
You said
Now,
you had
when
2 minutes.
could we have guessed if that was coming? I think it can't be really understated how much we've missed Skelton's carries out of our own end from kicks, and I think that's
100%.
going to be a really big factor in this game.
Yeah.
He's got a bit of height, he's got a bit of muscle. Penrith's wingers, well, one of Penrith's wingers in particular is really short. I think he lines up on the opposite side or the same side of the field as To'o.
To'o will be on Taruva.
Oh, To'o will be on Taruva, will he? Okay. So
Apparently, like they should be on the wrong sides of the field, but apparently there's some banter going on by To'o to Tito saying, "I'm going to score a try against you." So it seems like they're going to be on the same side as each other, although really
mind games, maybe.
Jenkins should be on the left wing and Taruva should be on the right wing, so they should be opposite. Jenkins should be opposite Taruva.
Yeah, so like that's one of my biggest factors of why I've actually tipped the Tigers, because I don't have a lot of faith in the Panthers this year based on their recent performances and how their season's gone as a whole. I think this is a genuine opportunity for a massive upset for us. Just on Charlie Murray, thanks to West Tigers Faithful on Twitter for this, his New South Wales Cup stats. So in 11 appearances, he averages 9.4 hit-ups, 100 metres, 1 offload, 1 tackle break, 33 post-contact metres, 28 tackles with 94.5% efficiency on big minutes. So, and they say story is told in the stats, high effort, low impact. Hope he just tightens the middle when he comes on and is quiet mostly. So that's
We don't have to go through the Penrith team, mate.
Yeah, that's all right.
Penrith have won 4 premierships in a row. We've
yeah,
had
you know
3
they
spoons
are.
in a row. We kind of
Bloody
know
hell.
where we all are at.
few ex-Tigers. Yeah. All right. We're gonna have to end the show
In
there.
darkness.
In darkness.
In darkness.
That's
Can
okay.
we find our way out of here?
Lights are on the orange grove, just not on the camera. So thank you to everyone who joined
We've
us.
never looked
tonight.
better too.
Yeah, people might. Oh, should we get another super chat? Good on you, Mark Davis, who's a Buffalo Bills fan. He said,
Go,
"Good show,
yes,
boys."
Josh Allen, let's go.
he's going down.
yeah,
He's going
great
down in
chat.
week 14.
It's our year. Favourites for every game this year.
You're the favourite.
Going down in week 14.
Never.
All right. As always, go the Denver Broncos.
Go the West Tigers.
Go the Tigers.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the West Tigers Life podcast. You can join us every Wednesday night live at 8:30 p.m. from the Orange Grove Hotel. A big thank you to Orange Grove Hotel for their support, as well as iChoice Home Loans. If you want to hear more from the West Tigers Life podcast, go to westtigers.com.au. That'll be our link tree, and you'll find links to all our social media, and you can sign up at our Patreon at patreon.com/WestLife. Join us next time on West Tigers Life.